Bom dia a todos. Desculpa, tivemos um probleminha aqui de áudio.
I
Bom dia
apologize.
a
We had an issue with the audio. Good morning.
Agora, teste. Teste. Teste.
Foi?
Bom dia a todos. Desculpa aqui o
Good
início. A
morning.
gente
I
teve um probleminha
apologize.
de
We had
áudio. Acho que
a
agora está
problem with the
funcionando
audio. I
bem.
think now it's working
Vamos iniciar
well.
então a nossa
We'll start
videoconferência de
our
resultados
video
do quarto
conference for
trimestre.
earnings of the
Então, presentes aqui
4Q
comigo, o Fábio Faccio, nosso
2024.
CEO, e o Daniel
Fabio
Santos,
Faccio, our
CFO.
CEO, and
E antes de
Daniel
passar a
dos
palavra
Santos,
para
our
eles, eu
CFO,
gostaria
are
de
here
fazer
with
alguns
me.
avisos.
And before
A
I pass the
videoconferência está
floor,
sendo
I would
gravada
like
e
to
transmitida
make some announcement.
simultaneamente
We're
em
having
inglês. A
this
apresentação
conference
vai ser
recorded
postada em
and with
português, então para
simultaneous
quem nos acompanha em
translation.
inglês,
For those
ela
who
ficou
follow in
disponibilizada
English,
tanto aqui no
it's
chat como também no
available.
nosso site
The
de RI. A pergunta,
presentation
dúvida,
is
não deixe de
available
enviar ser
here and
direcionada à
on
nossa
our
assessoria
RI
de
website.
imprensa no
Any
telefone 11
question can be sent to our PR.
3365-9586. E antes de
And
continuar, esclareço que
before we
eventuais
continue,
declarações
that any
relacionadas a perspectivas de
forward-looking
negócio, projeções,
statements,
metas,
projections,
operacionais ou financeiras são apenas de
goals
premissas que usam
are
informações que a gente tem
assumptions
disponível
based
hoje
on the
e não são
information we have
garantias de
available today
desempenho,
and do
pois
not
dependem de
ensure
circunstâncias que
performance.
podem ou
That
não
depends on
ocorrer.
circumstance that may or
No
may not
Q&A,
occur.
as perguntas
In
poderão
the
ser
Q&A, the
realizadas
questions can be
somente por áudio.
asked
Por isso,
only
passo
through
a palavra,
audio.
Fábio, para ti.
Therefore, Fabio,
Obrigado,
you have the
Carla.
floor. Thank you,
Bom
Carla.
dia
Good
e
morning,
obrigado por estar
and thank you for
conosco.
being with us.
Quero iniciar agradecendo ao
First, I
nosso
would like to
time pelo
start thanking
empenho,
our team for their
dedicação,
effort,
engajamento
dedication,
com
and
o propósito
engagement
de
with the
encantar a
purpose
todos.
of intenting
Agradecer
all.
também aos nossos
I would
mais de
also like
20
to thank
milhões
our
de
more than 20
clientes pela
million customers
confiança,
for their trust,
preferência
preference, recognition, and also suggestions. I would like to thank our thousands of business partners and shareholders for their trust, as well as our board of directors for the trust and excellent contributions. In 2024, we completed a cycle of investments that was the most significant in our history. We expanded our competitive advantages, we sped up our growth, and improved our profitability in a sustainable manner. Our results, especially in the second half of the year, already show part of this evolution. Our business model is boosted by several important initiatives that re-straighten our position as a reference in the fashion execution sector, integrated operation, and experience to enchant the customer. Additionally, our growth also generated positive impact for our stakeholders through several initiatives of responsible fashion. We strongly believe that governance, sustainability, and social inclusion, in addition to being necessary to our society, are also strong allies of the greatest sustained generation of results. Our investments in the past years allowed us to leverage through technology, use of data and AI for a more agile, flexible, precise, and integrated model. We're proud of our accomplishments in 2024, a year that marks the beginning of a new cycle in our company. We're meeting our objectives and re-strengthening our long and successful trajectory in the South American retail. The benefits of the model will continue to evolve even more as the initiatives gain traction. Operating results of the fourth quarter restate the power of this model. We delivered a sales growth above market average with a healthy gross margin and growing ROIC. The evolution of the collections, together with the flexibility, agility, and accuracy of our model, together with improvements in operating efficiency, allowed us to achieve a record generation of free cash flow. The evolutions that we did throughout the fourth quarter are related also to some of our main growth levers: store productivity, digitalization, omni operation, and organic expansion. These evolutions happened in all our business units that we have today and in all the countries. In fashion execution, the advanced use of data analysis to identify trends and speed up developing new collections benefited sales, including the periods of Black Friday and Christmas. By leveraging the use of AI to recognize trends and identify products, we were able to capture new trends and act quickly with renewed products, which reflected in the inventory turnover during the time. This greater flexibility and agility allowed a larger part of our collection to be developed and produced during the season, expanding the volume of pieces sold and the volume of transactions. Healthy inventory resulted in a reduction of 5 days in the average time, and reducing old inventory reduced for a quarter, contributing to having a lower markdown in the fourth Q since 2016. We are well positioned with a strong value proposition and with the use of high-end technology to calibrate precisely the preference of our customers. Our renewed and adjusted inventory adapts quickly to changes to the new demand patterns, positioning us in a unique and differentiated way compared to the market. We believe that this will boost new continuous gains in market share. But our omni supply model, we operate 100% per SKU with reduced lead time to replenish stores, which significantly improved the level of service at stores and sales performance during the quarter. These advances reflect our continuous commitment in overcome consumer expectations with excellence in collections and a more customized, integrated, and enchanting journey. This fourth quarter was our fourth quarter in a row in which sales growth was driven by increase of pieces sold and by transaction volume, reflects of well-adjusted pricing that adhere to our value proposition and driven by our positioning and the power of the brand. Our sales per square meter is referenced in the industry, and even with greater sizes than the average of the industry, this quarter showed again continuous growth of this important driver for growth and profitability. Sales per square meter in the quarter increased 9%, result of increasing productivity in our operations. We started in January the last migration of e-commerce to the new distribution center, and the full transition is forecast for the second quarter of 2025, which should help even more this growth. Continuous digitalization of the customer journey also contributed relevantly for sales per square meter. We closed 2024 with almost 60% of Renner units with self-checkouts that have RFID technology and are considered by many as a global reference in the industry. As to e-commerce, once again, Renner app continues to rank first in number of downloads and monthly active users among all national fashion players, as we can see in the app Annie. GMV Digital, another important lever for our growth, grew 18% with a share of 13.7% in the quarter, which is a record for a fourth quarter at Renner. The improved NPS in all our businesses and channels during the quarter, as well as the milestone of more than 20 million active customers, are also a strong sign of an enchanting customer service that is very successful, and it reflects in past and future results. As Daniel will tell you soon, despite the increase in cost due to the exchange rate effects during the period, the gross margin in retail stayed at healthy levels, and we're satisfied with the positive trend that we have so far, boosted by precision and agility of our fashion execution. It's worth mentioning that we haven't achieved all the benefits of our model, which will be gradually captured as operations advance and gain traction. At Camicado, the sales per square meter increased 70%, again with increase in volume of transactions and items per purchase, as well as strong increase of the gross margin of 3.1 percentage points, another record of the fourth quarter. Again, in another good quarter, the business shows we were right in reviewing the strategy at Camicado started a little over 2 years ago. In addition to continued evolution of executing and managing sales and operations, we selectively closed some units, streamlining our number of stores, and today we can invest more in renovating the units and growing sales per square meter. Expanding the development of our own brand and exclusive products, allied to efficient inventory management, continues to provide growing results in sales and profitability for our brand, Camicado, even in a challenging landscape for this industry, showing the potential of our model also in this industry. Youcom sales also significantly grew during the quarter with a good acceptance of the high summer collection, strong operating execution, and greater engagement of our target brand with the brand. With an increase of 19% of sales, it was more than double market average, reflecting successful initiatives to support a more integrated and enchanting journey. Yukon still has great potential for growth and in continuous evolution of profitability, both by increasing same-store sales as digital growth and organic expansion, which hasn't achieved half of its potential yet. And by the entry in an important phase in which we have the opportunity to expand the average square meters of the store, providing even more appeal to our customers and leveraging operating results for our business. At Realize, we improved risk and credit management and the value proposition, offering exclusive benefits to our customers that have contributed to increase the customer base in retail. The strategy at Realize confirmed its relevance as driver for retail, both in financing sales, which increased its share, as well as making our customers loyal. And all this with profitability. The results grew significantly in the quarter and more than doubled in the year, with significant reduction of portfolio risk. I would like to pass the floor to Daniel to present a detailed analysis of our results. Thank you, Fábio. Good day, everyone. About our growth in the quarter, in this fourth quarter, we achieved 9.7% growth. This is our fifth quarter in a row of sales growth, driven by increase of sold pieces and transactions. This is due to our fourth brand positioning and value equation in our mix of products. Our fashion execution, leveraged by artificial intelligence, allows more renewal of collections, while our replenishing model by SKU offers more precision and agility. Another point to highlight is the increase of 9% sales per square meter in the quarter, which reflects our initiatives to improve customer journey, as well as digitalization of stores, which significantly improved convenience to our customers. Agility in fashion execution, as well as evolution in the supply replenishing model, lower lead time to deliver to stores, higher precision in allocating products, and fewer ruptures also helped our levels of sales per square meter. Next, we have one of the highest index of sales per square model in fashion in Brazil. As Fábio said, our e-commerce continued to grow, GMV digital showing 18% growth and 13.7% penetration in the quarter. It's important to highlight that, once again, our business units grew more above than market. We closed the year with 8.2% growth and continue gaining market share. About gross margin. Gross margin is also benefited by the fashion execution model that is more agile and precise. We achieved our lowest level markdown in a quarter in the past 8 years. Additionally, our average inventory time dropped, followed by significant reduction of old inventory. This is a result of a more agile development of our collections and a supply chain more and more integrated and responsive. Important to highlight that gross margin of fourth quarter was negatively impacted by the adjustment to present value, we call. Adjustment in present value is an accounting effect in operations that brings to present value those sales in installments using interest rates and market. It was higher than our expectations to the high increase of interest rates compared to the interest rates dynamic of the same quarter last year. This impacted the positive expectation of gross margin we had for the beginning of the quarter. It's important to note that our gross margin structural and operational was 0.2 percentage point year-over-year, even with higher costs due to the effect and without repassing price. This effect of the interest rate curve will still impact the first half of 2025. It's important to clarify this hedging. We closed the fourth quarter with 1/3 of the quarter hedged at a rate of less than 6%. Due to increase of FX, we increased our coverage, and today we have almost 100% of our first half hedged below 6%, 6 reais. As to operating expenses, we continue our commitment to keep our expenses under control. In the fourth quarter, we presented operating leverage with SG&A, with growth lower than revenue, allowing reduction of SG&A as percentage of sales at 0.8 percentage point year-over-year. We closed the year of 2024 with a 1.3 percentage point reduction year-over-year. Increase of sales expenses also reflected higher sales commission, as well as salary adjustments related to previous years. Growth in profit share of our employees also increased due to overcoming the targets for 2024 compared to the performance below target in 2023. Also, expenses are proportionally higher in the fourth quarter because they had accumulated at a lower level in previous periods. Also, it's worth mentioning that the benefits of recovering fiscal credits were significantly lower in the fourth quarter 2024 quarter compared to 4Q23. Realize, our financial institution, delivered another quarter with significant improvement. The result was positive in 61.4 million BRL in the quarter and almost 168 million in the year. The share of our sales card also increased, showing that we continue to boost retail sales, increasing customer loyalty. The significant improvement in profitability reflects the evolution and sophistication of our credit risk models that allow to recover gradually the client base of Realize cards at the same time that support growth in retail. We continue with the positive evolution in the quality indicators in our portfolio, with over 90 achieving 14.2 in Q4, a decrease of 5.3 percentage points over 4Q23, and a short-term maturity achieved the lowest level in the past 5 years. One of the new rules of the Central Bank, Resolution 4966, will impact Realize. I'm going to explain how, especially in the first half. For Realize, the new rules have a positive impact in 2024, especially the first half of this year, when the rules will be in effect. The most material impacts are: the accrual of interests will increase to 60 to 90 days, benefiting revenue. Writing off matured portfolio that will be done after 540 days. This will generate lower losses. These changes will be reflected in the results of the first quarter, but should not be used as a forecast for the rest of the year. When we close the first quarter, we will communicate these effects in detail to make it clear to all of you. Our credit risk model is more robust. A healthy portfolio with a low risk profile position Realize very well for the current credit cycle in Brazil. We're extremely attentive to the macro environment, and our approach continues to be cautious and responsible, ensuring that we continue to support retail sales and maintaining quality in the portfolio. In a consumption environment that is under pressure, credit is key, and a healthy portfolio of Realize puts us in a privileged position. About EBITDA, in recurring basis, the profitability EBITDA of our business grew 19% year-over-year. Adjusted EBITDA of Q4 didn't follow the revenue growth for the reasons that I mentioned before. In the year, total adjusted EBITDA increased 26%, achieving around 2.6 billion BRL, with free cash generation record of 1.5 billion BRL. As to net income, during the quarter, we had a drop in assets by 133.5 million related to reducing operations in downtown in our distribution center in Rio de Janeiro, Realize system impairment of Repassa. With recurring basis, net income increased 30%. We closed the year with a robust cash position of 2.8 billion and continued to generate strong operating cash flow that grew more than 19% in a year. This financial soundness and flexibility position us in great competitive advantage in the current macro environment, which allows us to continue investing in growth as well as returning capital to our shareholders. I would pass the floor back to Fabio for his closing comments before we open to Q&A. Thank you, Daniel. We concluded the most significant period of investments in the history of our company in order to evolve our business model. We're focused on long-term building, and we went into a renewed cycle of growth, profitability, and cash generation. All this without needing to make relevant investments in infrastructure and greater availability of investments for growth. This puts us in a very favorable position with a strong cash position and robust free cash flow generation, which allows us to invest what we needed to grow our business, in addition to returning capital to our shareholders by interest on own capital and also through repurchase shares of about 1 billion BRL, as announced yesterday. These investments are totally aligned with our priorities to allocate capital related to growth levers in our brands, remodeling our stores, organic expansion in places where we have not penetrated yet, and improving our omnipresence. We believe that the current price of our shares do not adequately reflect the value of our company due to the growth and progress showed in the year, and especially our potential and short, mid, and long-term expectations. The results of 2024 show clearly that the new model is working. We're operating a company that has evolved its competitive advantages, its team, products, business model, and maintaining operating discipline exactly as we said we would do. These improvements will continue to evolve even more as the model gains traction. We know that 2025 still has external challenges, but we are still confident that the company will be able to enchant customers, and that will reflect in gaining market share and generating value to shareholders. Also, we believe that the success shown by our evolved business model represents an important competitive advantage, both in more challenging macro moments as well as in a more favorable landscape. For this to happen, a strong culture and a competent and engaged team are key to continue enchanting our customers, generating value, and ensuring a unique position in the market. In 2024, we achieved historical record engagement of our teams, which makes us even more confident in positive results in the future. To conclude, I would like to share with you that 2025 will be a very special year for us here at the company. We are celebrating 20 years of corporation, the first corporation in Brazil, and 60 years of the company. We have a lot to celebrate, not only historically, but also the expectation of celebrating another good year of results. I would like to invite you all to be part of our General Assembly of Shareholders that will take place on April 24th. I would like Carla to start our Q&A. Thank you, Fabio. With this, we start our Q&A session. To ask questions, please raise your hand. And to streamline our time and be able to answer more questions, we ask you to Please ask one question at a time. If necessary, please go back to the end of the line to ask your follow-up questions. I would like to start with our first question from Dani Aike from XP. Hi, everyone. Thank you for taking my question. I have two. The first is an overview of growth compared to profitability. We see that this discussion is permeating retail overall among categories as well, especially looking at 2025. So if possible, could you give us your outlook? Fabio, you said in your comment about having a more challenging environment still in 2025. Do you have any strategy to hold back this repass of cost of FX in the fourth quarter? Or if you could please help us to understand this balance between growth and margin and connecting to this path of growth margin compared to 2019. I think we use this year as a reference of targets. How much can we imagine that this will evolve? And about the growth in the quarter, if you could explain what was the impact of Argentina, that would be interesting. And about your comment of growth volume, that would be interesting. My second question is related to payment of bonuses. There's an expected movement, but it did surprise us the amount paid. So what are the main metrics that you look for internally? I think that probably changes for managers and executives. I don't know if there's any readjustment for 2025 of the metrics you're using, if it's gross margin, EBITDA, that would also be interesting to know. Thank you. Thank you, Dani. Well, actually, I wrote down 4 questions, but let's try to answer all of them. First, about growth and profitability. I don't know if we were clear enough in our talk and in the PowerPoint. We continue to have growth with profitability. Gross margin, what we meant was that despite the effects of FX and all the other issues, we still have a growing gross margin. We grew 0.2 percentage point in a comparison base. We have a non-recurring effect that Danielle explained, that's what happened when you have an increase of the interest rate that eats up a little bit of the margin. In a landscape of growing interest rates, that can impact our margin, and with it stabilized, it doesn't impact any in future rates. That helps us. Commercially speaking, if with the FX expects, we grew 0.2% percentage point on the margin. We continue to expect healthy margins, even in this landscape. If the landscape were better, our expectation of margin growth would be higher. But we do understand that we can continue to grow healthily, even in this landscape, because we invested highly in our business model. We're working, as we have highlighted, in cash generation, and that's very important for retail. Work sales growth with smaller inventories is very important. Sometimes you grow sales with greater inventories, but we're growing inventory. We're growing sales with smaller inventory, but they are constantly renewed. So you have always some novelty in the store, which brings in customers, increasing sales and margins. So we can offset the hedging of FX or any growing costs by gaining efficiency in the model. We can transfer good prices to our customers with great margins for us, even in a landscape in which cost increase are putting pressure on the margins and other factors. And generating inventory, we bring more sales, more margin, and a better financial cycle, generating more cash flow. So our expectation going forward is to continue to grow above market average with a healthy margin and with good inventory management. So it's continuous improvement as the model gains traction. About impact of Argentina in the past quarter, it's not relevant. It's a small operation for us. But yes, Argentina. I'm sorry, I lost connection with.
Oi, Dani, você escuta a gente?
Us now?
Agora sim, acho que travou.
Yes, I think you froze for a minute. You were talking about Argentina that was helping.
Então, não, a Argentina ela é muito pequena.
Argentina is very small in our operations with very little effect on our overall growth, but it helps. The recovery of Argentina is helping and is positive. About the quarter,
A gente tem visto, que as vendas continuam
we've been seeing that sales are in line with our expectations. We expect to grow above the market average. So we understand that it's still in line and we haven't seen any issues in the market. About paying profit share.
Só terminar isso aqui. A gente, na verdade,
actually, profit share was balanced with our past history. It was similar to 2019. We normalized payment. The difference is compared to 2023. The outliers 2023, our profit share is not a percentage of our profits, actually. It's targets of overcoming targets for our team. So in 2023, we were below our expectations in performance, so the profit share was lower. When we look at 2024 compared year over year, I have a high growth because 2023 was low. 2024 was our normal results. It wasn't an outlier. On the contrary, it was very much similar to our past history. And they are related to ROIC, EBIT, and sales. I don't know if I forgot anything. No, the only thing that I mentioned is when we look at the phases along the quarter, they were different. The fourth quarter was heavier, but we had a second quarter very challenging. And when we started to recover in the Q3 and Q4, we reiterated our forecast. So what Fabio said is in line with the average of 2019. Now it's a little bit heavier in the fourth quarter. And that's how we provisioned. We do provisions by quarter. And since it was lower in the fourth quarter, the forecast is lower.
Tá ok. Muito obrigada pela.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers.
Obrigado, Dani.
Thank you, Dani.
Bom, antes de abrir aqui para a próxima
Before
pergunta,
we
só
open
gostaria de
to
reforçar
Q&A, I would like
pedido para
to
que
reiterate our request
seja feita uma pergunta
to
por vez,
only ask one
em
question
função até
per
que a gente
analyst
consiga todos
due
uma
to time
oportunidade de fazer
restraints,
perguntas.
so
E a
we can
próxima
answer
pergunta,
as many questions as
então, vem
possible.
do Pedro
Our
Pinto,
next
do
question is
Bradesco
from Pedro
BBI.
Pinto from Bradesco BDI.
O que está acontecendo hoje, gente?
Caiu?
Did we drop again?
Engraçado que mudou a ordem, né?
Porque caiu e voltou, provavelmente. Caiu e voltou,
A
deve
gente
ter-
consegue te ouvir. Eu não sei se
We
estão
can
me
hear
ouvindo,
you.
mas eu ainda tô
I don't know if
aqui,
you can hear me,
é,
but
podendo ouvir. Não sei se é alguma coisa
I can
comigo.
hear you. We just
Pra
can't
gente
see
tá dando
you.
conexão aqui, mas
É,
Oh,
a
for
gente
us, the
escuta,
connection
mas não se
dropped.
vê. É,
We
a gente
hear you,
escuta,
but
mas
we
não se
can't
vê.
see you.
Então, agora
Só
voltou.
Oh, now
Eu
you're
acho que
back.
deve ter algum problema que é o Pedro que tem que falar, não eu, né?
So I think Pedro has
Mas
to
obrigado
speak and
pela
not
ajuda,
me.
Dani.
Eu acho que só o microfone ainda do
Imagina.
Pedro que não deve estar aberto, por isso.
Agora foi?
Oh, can you hear me now?
Ouvindo
Yes,
agora.
yes, we
Boa.
can. Okay,
Valeu,
great.
pessoal. Obrigado. Bom dia a todo mundo.
Thank
Obrigado por
you.
pegar
Good
minha
morning.
pergunta.
Thank you for
Então,
answering my
até para respeitar
question.
o espaço para
To
uma pergunta
respect,
só, eu vou
one
dar um duplo
question
clique
only.
aqui, né, um follow-up em cima da pergunta da Dani, né,
I'm going to
do
follow up
PLR,
on
né? A gente
Dani's question
lembra que
about
depois do
profit
quarto TRI de
share.
2021, vocês
After the fourth
recalibraram bem
quarter
as
of
regras, né?
2021, you
E
recalibrated the
aí eu
rules.
acho que esse
And I
ano,
think that
especialmente
this
esse TRI, vai
year,
ser
especially this
existiu em algum
quarter,
grau algum descompasso,
at
né, de
some
expectativa da
level, there
companhia, a expectativa que a
was
gente
a
faz dos números
mismatch in the
aqui.
expectations of the
Então, e
company and the
até
figures.
aproveitando esse
And
timing, né, de começo do ano, né,
benefiting
com
the timing, the
orçamento e
beginning of the
metas
year
já
with the
desenhado
budget
internamente,
and target
talvez uma
already
oportunidade
established
legal para a gente
internally,
debater
maybe it's a
quais
good
são esses
opportunity
thresholds,
for
né?
us
Você
to
comentou de
learn
ROIC,
about the
EBIT,
thresholds.
vendas,
You
mas quanto, né,
mentioned ROIC,
crescer
EBIT, and
vendas mais
sales.
que o mercado, né? Quanto que vocês esperam que o
Growing sales
mercado
above
cresça,
market.
né?
How
Quanto
much do you
que
expect the market
a
to
margem
grow?
EBIT a
The EBIT
gente poderia
margin,
trabalhar aqui, né? A gente tem uma última
what is
indicação,
your
talvez no Investor Day de
expectation?
22,
Maybe
mas nada muito
some
palpável, só
guidance
para a
from
gente não
2022.
abrir uma
Just
boca de jacaré de expectativa e tá mais ou menos
some
alinhado, se a gente
idea
puder
so we
ter mais um
don't
detalhe
expect
sobre
too
essa questão
much
aqui.
and details about
Bom,
what I
Pedro,
just mentioned.
você
Well,
está correto.
Pedro,
Na primeira fase, a
you're
gente
correct. In the first
implementou
phase,
algumas
we
regras
implemented some rules
no nosso plano
in
de
our
remuneração variável para todo o time, né? Lembrando que
variable
temos 25 mil
compensation for the whole
colaboradores,
team.
e a gente tem alguns
And
tetos,
we
né, para
have
não
some
ter
ceilings
valor
so
que
we don't
seja
have an amount
ofensor ao nosso resultado,
that
né? A
offends our
calendarização
result.
ali nos trimestres ocorreu
Also,
realmente porque a
using the
gente no
quarters
meio
as a
do ano
calendar
tinha
in the
principalmente
middle
pelo
of the
efeito das
year
enchentes ali no
because
trimestre,
of
visão
the floods in the first half of the
uma
year.
recuperação menor, então a gente
We
provisionou
had
menos
lower
e
figures,
ao
so
longo
we
do terceiro e
produced
quarto
less.
tri, com os
And in the
resultados vindo
third and
mais em linha com as
fourth
expectativas, a
quarter,
gente voltou a
the
provisionar, então
results
teve
were
uma
more aligned with
provisão
our
um pouco
expectations.
maior
So
no
we
quarto
went
tri,
back
mas se
to
olhar efeito
that
ano,
forecast.
ele
But
é
if you
muito
look at
semelhante
the
ao que
whole
foi
year, it's very
2019 ou
similar
dos
to
anos anteriores, né? O
2019
23 que
or
é o fora das
previous
curvas.
years. The outlier is
Um
2023.
ponto importante, né?
An
A gente
important point
não dá guidance de crescimento
is
nem de
we don't
margem,
provide
de nada,
guidance
né?
of
Então,
growth or EBIT margin. So
o que a gente espera
what
é
we
ter
do
crescimento
expect is to have
saudável,
healthy growth
crescimento acima da média de mercado,
above market
né? Então,
average,
ganhando market share
so
e
gaining
fazendo
market
isso com maior
share
rentabilidade. Então,
and doing
crescendo sempre
this,
mais a venda do
increasing
que a despesa e
profitability,
com uma margem
increasing sales
saudável,
and
em linha com o que a
above
gente tem feito aqui.
expenses, and very much in line with what we are doing.
Tá bom, muito obrigado.
Okay,
Valeu,
thank you very
pessoal. Bom
much.
dia.
Obrigado,
Have a
Pedro.
great day. Thank you.
A próxima pergunta vem
Our
do
next
Eric
question,
Huang, do
Eric
Santander. Tudo bem,
Huang from
Eric?
Santander. Hi, Eric.
Bom dia, pessoal. Obrigado
Good
por
morning,
pegar
everyone.
nossa
Thank you for
pergunta.
taking my
Acho que do
question.
nosso lado, pouco mais olhando
My
aqui para
question
a
is
rentabilidade,
looking at
principalmente, né? A gente
profitability,
viu
especially.
nesse
We
TRI
saw in
especificamente
this
algumas
quarter
linhas aí com um pouquinho
specifically
mais de
some
diluição, mas acho que vendas talvez tenha
dilution
girado um
lines,
pouquinho
but
menos do que a gente
sales
estava
maybe
esperando.
dropped a little bit
Então, entrando um
less
pouco
than we were
nessa linha, né,
expecting.
de
So,
crescimento, olhando para a
speaking
rentabilidade,
of growth,
só um pouco
looking
para
at
entender um pouco melhor
profitability,
que
I
que
would
dá para
like
a
to
gente
understand
pensar aqui
better
em
what
grandes
we can
linhas, onde vocês enxergam um
consider
pouco mais de
overall
potencial de
in
diluição de
terms of
despesas
dilution
agora
potential
em
for
25, acho que
expenses now in
principalmente tendo em mente aí
2025,
o
especially
faseamento, né,
keeping in
do
mind the
CD, enfim,
phasing
acho que
of the
tentando
new
entender um pouco
distribution
melhor como
center
essas coisas deveriam
and understand how
conversar
these things should
para essa cabeça
relate
de
to each
margem
other
em 25, olhando
for
principalmente para
this
despesas aqui,
margin,
né?
especially for
Obrigado.
expenses in
Obrigado,
2025.
Eric. Então,
Thank you,
acho
Eric.
pouco em linha com o que
Well,
o Fábio comentou,
in
né?
line with
Quando a
what
gente olha
Fabio
para
mentioned, when we look
2025, o
at
que que a gente espera?
2025, what we expect is
Primeiro, crescimento acima
first,
da média do
growth
mercado,
above
né?
market
E
average,
especificamente em
and
despesa, a gente
specifically in
seguir
expenses,
trabalhando alavancado,
continue
tá? Numa
to
visão de ano, a gente vai ter
work leveraged. We had expenses growth below the growth of revenues.
disso ao longo dos trimestres,
When we 1 month in the calendar, we have a quarter that is more leveraged, another less leveraged. This was what happened in 2024. We have to keep that in mind, but looking at the whole year, that's our expectation. We're going to continue to seek growing our expenses below the growth of revenue, so we have an increase in the EBIT margin.
Perfeito. Só
Perfect.
follow-up rápido, desculpa aqui.
Just a
cada
quick
mesma
follow-up. I
pergunta.
apologize.
Mas assim, pensando nos blocos, né? Vendas,
Continue
G&A, tem
of
alguma que vocês acreditam que tem um potencial um
G&A,
pouco maior?
sales. Do you think there's
Ou
one that has a
deve ser uma
little
coisa um pouco
higher
mais
expectation,
parecida,
or do
talvez,
you
com
think
o que
it's
foi
similar
24?
to what we have in 24? I think it will be more balanced. Eric, there's nothing specifically in sales or SG&A that deserve a highlight. So the trend is to have this leverage balance throughout the year.
Perfeito, obrigado.
Thank you. Perfect.
Obrigado, Eric.
Thank you,
A
Eric.
próxima pergunta vem do
Our
Gustavo
next question is
Fratini,
from
do Bank of
Gustavo
America. Tudo
Fratini
bem,
from Bank
Fratini?
of America. How are you, Fratini?
Tudo bem, pessoal? Obrigado por
Hi,
pegar a
everyone.
nossa
Thank you
pergunta.
for asking
Talvez seja
answering our question.
follow-up
I think it's a
outra
follow-up,
abordagem da pergunta do
a
Eric. Eu
different
queria
approach of
entender,
Eric's
pessoal,
question. I would like to understand
talvez o que drivou essa
what
diminuição menos do que a gente
drove
esperava na parte de
a
despesas com vendas
lower
nesse quarter.
than
Eu acho que esse foi
expectation in
ponto
sales for
chave
this
que eu acho que
quarter.
destoou
I think
bastante, não
that's
só
really
da
stood
gente,
out,
mas
not only for
do
us,
mercado como todo.
but
Teve
from the
alguma
market
coisa
overall.
que,
Is there anything
enfim, acho que o Daniel comentou um pouco,
that
talvez alguma
Daniel
calendarização que
mentioned,
pesou um pouco
maybe
mais agora no quarto Q,
the
que vocês
calendar
acham que
use
poderia
that
ser diferente no de
had a
2025?
greater weight in
Obrigado.
2024? Is there anything different for 2025?
Olha, Gustavo, pouco do
Well,
que eu
Gustavo,
comentei, até que eu não
a little bit of
abordei
what
no
I
slide,
mentioned
né?
in the
Sim,
slide.
quando a gente vê as despesas
When
de
we look
vendas,
at
quando a
the
gente
sales
compara com os
expenses
outros
and
trimestres,
compared to
ele
the other
ficou pouco acima.
quarters,
Agora,
it was a
vamos
little
lembrar
bit
que o quarto
above, but
trimestre é um trimestre
fourth
muito forte de
quarter
vendas,
is
onde
very
você
strong in
tem toda uma
sales,
dinâmica
where you have
de preparação
to
força que você tem
prepare
que ter nas lojas, com equipes
and have to have
reforçadas, tá? E a
inventory
gente
at the
teve dois
stores.
pontos ali que eu comentei.
And there are
Um,
two
tem
points that I
questão de
mentioned
calendarização de despesa, que
that
ocorre
when we
normalmente, que pode ser que
calendared the
no ano seja num
expenses,
trimestre, no ano
maybe
outro,
in one
tá?
year it's in
E
one
algumas
quarter, the other
despesas
is in another
específicos
quarter, and
de
some
venda,
specific
né?
expenses of
Alguns
sales,
ajustes salariais
some salary
foram
adjustments
retroativos, que
that
foi por
were
termos de lei, que aqui se aplica, ele é retroativo,
retroactive,
que fizeram com que ele ficasse levemente acima. Mas não
that
tem
made
nada
it
de
a little bit
especial,
higher. But
nada
there's
que
nothing special,
indique assim
nothing that
carrego desse
indicates
crescimento de despesa para o
that the
próximo,
expenses will
pro ano de
grow
2025, tá?
for the year of
Reafirmo de
2025.
novo que o ano de
I
2025 é um
reiterate
ano que
that
a gente segue
2025 is a
buscando
year that we will
alavancagem
continue
operacional, tá? Essa é a
operating
visão que a gente tem para o
leverage,
ano.
and that's the
E
vision we have for the
isso
year.
pode flutuar ali
And this
ao
can
longo
fluctuate
dos
throughout
trimestres, mas
the
fechando o
quarters,
ano, né, tendo uma
but
visão do
closing
ano
the
com
year, having
alavancagem
a yearly
operacional.
view with a very strong operating
Super
cash
claro.
flow.
Obrigado, pessoal.
Thank you very much. Very
Obrigado,
clear.
Gustavo.
A
Thank you,
próxima
Gustavo.
pergunta é do João Soares, do
Next
Citi.
question,
Tudo bem, João?
João Soares from
Tudo bem,
Citibank.
Carla? Bom dia,
Hi, João.
pessoal.
Hi, Carla and
Eu
everyone.
queria entender um pouquinho,
I want to
vamos tentar
understand
explorar essa dinâmica de margem bruta, porque acho que tem
this
muitas
gross
moving
margin
parts aqui.
dynamic because there
Ajuda a
are
gente a
several
entender melhor
issues
assim, o
here.
efeito do
Help us
hedge,
to understand
o que
the
é feito
effect
de...
of
Vocês comentaram
hedging.
também no release que
You
o
also
ADP
mentioned
deve
in the
ter um, vai
release
prolongar aí ao longo do primeiro
that
semestre.
it will have an
Só que ao mesmo
effect that
tempo também
will
vocês falam bastante,
extend
né, da
through
melhora
the
de
first
giros, da
half. You
eficiência,
also
do
have
CD.
improved
O que é o
turnover,
efeito
efficiency
preponderante? O
in
que
the
a gente tem que
DC.
imaginar
What
nesse
should we
nesse
imagine
semestre?
is
Eu sei que vocês não podem
preponderant in
dar
this
guidance, mas
quarter?
ajuda a gente a entender um pouquinho melhor
Can
assim
you
os
help us to
efeitos
better understand the
e o nível de
effects
grandeza desses efeitos.
and the size of this hedge?
Bom, João, obrigado pela pergunta.
Well,
Assim,
João,
a
thank you
gente
for
não
your
vai poder
question.
dar
We
detalhes
can't
numéricos,
give
mas eu
you
vou comentar com você um pouco o
figures, but I
conceito, tá?
can
Acho que
comment
primeiro,
the
aquilo
concept,
que a gente comentou com relação
what
ao
we
FX,
mentioned
né? Então,
about
primeiro,
FX.
sim,
So
existe uma
first,
pressão de FX,
there is an
tá? Essa
FX
pressão de
pressure,
FX,
this FX
a
pressure.
gente esclareceu um pouco do que o nível de
We
hedge que a gente tem, que a gente
explain
está
at the
ali
level of hedging that
abaixo
we
de
have.
R$ 6,
It's
que a gente está
below
colocando, que a
6
gente tem reservado
BRLs
para o primeiro
that we
semestre,
are
tá?
hedged for the
É
first
importante
half.
a gente lembrar que quando a gente
It's
pensa
important
no
to remember
modelo
that
como um
when we
todo,
think about
ele
the
tem
whole
várias
model,
variáveis. Você tem
there are several
variáveis de
variables.
eficiência
We
de
have
gestão de estoque, que é algo
inventory
extremamente
management
importante, que a gente entra
efficiency
o
that is very
trimestre com um
important.
nível de estoque
We start the
equilibrado, um
quarter
nível de
with a
estoque tem
balanced
sido
level of
bem mais baixo do
inventory,
que a gente retornou no
much
anterior, que
lower
foi
than
recente,
the
com um posicionamento
previous
muito melhor. Você começa a ter
quarter.
repasses de
You
preço, a
start
gente comentou que no
repassing
Q4
price. In the fourth quarter,
pequeno, mas agora
we
você
didn't
começa a entrar com
repass
a nova
much. Now
coleção,
we start a new
ela
collection,
já entra com posicionamento
and
de
it
preço
already
diferente,
comes with a different
equilibrando
pricing point,
posicionamento de preço, com
offsetting
custo, com ganhos
price,
de eficiência que a gente
cost,
teve ao longo da
gain in
cadeia, com esse
efficiency that we
estoque
had throughout
mais
the
fresco,
supply chain
tá? Tem
with
impacto do AVP no
the
primeiro
inventory.
semestre,
You
né?
also
Mas
have the
mesmo com todas essas
impact
variáveis, é um pouco uma
of
visão que
the
conversa com a
CD
visão do
in
ano, né?
the first
A
quarter,
gente
but we have to
continua
look at the whole
tendo
year. We still have
margens saudáveis,
a
tá?
healthy margin
E relativamente estáveis
and
versus
relatively
ao ano
stable
anterior, tá?
compared
A gente
to
tem,
last
logicamente,
year.
aí, eventualmente, um
Of
potencial,
course,
tá?
we
Isso
have
depende, logicamente, de como é que essas
potential.
variáveis
It
de
depends on
custo
how these
e de
cost
FX
variables and FX
vão
variables
evoluir ao longo do ano,
will
mas margens
evolve throughout the
saudáveis
year, but we
e
have healthy
relativamente
margins
estáveis, tá?
and relatively stable margins.
Super claro, Daniel. Desculpa abusar,
Very
só tem
clear,
um ponto aqui que eu
Daniel.
pedi para
I have
perguntar em
one
relação à
just
nota explicativa
point
37.2
to
do ato de
a-
inflação,
ask
em
about
relação
the
à exclusão de incentivo fiscal de ICMS. Se
explanation
você pudesse só falar um pouquinho
note.
sobre
Could you
sobre
talk
essa nota
about
explicativa,
that
Tá legal.
explanation note?
Não, tranquilo.
It's
Interessante
okay.
que esse acho que é um ponto
It's
que talvez
interesting
seja
because I think that's
dividido.
something
Obrigado, João. Bom, aqui
that other people might
aquela
not know.
auto de infração diz respeito à
That
subvenção de
fine
ICMS,
was
tá?
about
Então, tal como a gente colocou
subvention
ali,
of
ela diz respeito à
ICMS.
parte diferida,
So it's
onde a gente
about
tem ali uma decisão do TJ
when
de
we
São Paulo
have
que é muito
a
clara
decision of the court in
e,
São
né,
Paulo
com
that is very
relação
clear
que a aplicação que a gente fez é uma
that
aplicação correta.
the
Por isso que
investment we
os
made was
advogados
correct.
e até
That's
mesmo
why the
quando a gente
lawyers,
discutiu isso com a
and we
auditoria, a gente
discussed
considera
this
isso
with
como
the
um
auditing
risco
team,
baixo, né? Não
we
tem
consider
necessidade
that
de
low
provisão,
risk.
mas como é
We
um
don't
auto
need
de
to
infração
provision for that.
relevante, que
But
vem
since
depois que a
it's
gente
a
já tinha
relevant
fechado o ano,
fine
né, a
that
gente tem
came
o
after we
dever, a
closed the
obrigação de
year,
colocar
we
isso
have the
como marco no evento
obligation
subsequente para dar
to
transparência
put
para vocês,
it
tá?
as a
Mas a gente está
subsequent event to be
tranquilo com
transparent.
relação
But
a
we're
esse auto de
very
infração,
calm
dado,
about
né,
this
decisões aí do TJ São Paulo que deixa
decision
claro
about the
que
court in São
algo
Paulo
foi
that
feito
makes
da maneira
clear that
correta.
it was done correctly.
tá ótimo. Obrigado, pessoal.
Thank you very much.
A próxima pergunta é do
Our
Vinícius
next question is from
Strano,
Vinicius
UBS.
Strano from
Vinícius,
UBS.
Bem, Carla, bom dia. Bom
Hi,
dia, Fábio,
Carla.
Daniel. Carla,
Hi,
obrigado por
Fabio and
pegar minha
Danielle.
pergunta.
Thank you for
Vou
taking
explorar
my
aqui
question.
pouco o CD.
Would like to talk about the
Então, queria que
distribution
vocês,
center.
se vocês
I
puderem
would like you
comentar
to
o quanto de
comment
ganho
more
que vocês ainda
what
esperam
gains you still
capturar, que a
expect
gente
to
ainda, né, não
capture
viu no
that
segundo
we haven't
semestre.
seen yet in the
Se
second
vocês pudessem
half.
ajudar a quantificar como é que a gente
And
pode
can you
pensar em ganho de
quantify
produtividade, margem bruta,
how
estoque.
much in gain of
E também, se
productivity,
puder explorar
gross margin,
pouco o
inventory,
rollout
and
do
also the
e-commerce
rollout
para dentro do
of
CD de Cabreúva,
e-commerce to
como
the
que isso aqui poderia
DC in
ajudar
Cabreúva and
e
how
se
this
vocês
could
estão
help.
pensando em uma
And if
desativação
you're
aqui no
thinking
CD
about
do Rio também que
deactivating
pudesse ajudar um pouco
the
mais os custos.
DC in
Obrigado.
Rio, that could help costs.
Obrigado pela pergunta, Vinícius.
Thank you
Eu
for your
acho que
question,
a
Vinicius.
expectativa é que a gente
Our
continue
expectation is to
capturando ganhos no
continue to
CD, né?
capture
Então,
gains
estão
at the
linkados
distribution
aqui
center
as
that are
perguntas, né?
linked to our
Os
parameters.
ganhos,
The
primeiro, né? Porque o
gains,
modelo ele vai se
first, because the
aperfeiçoando, né?
model
A gente vai trabalhando os algoritmos de
improved,
abastecimento e
we're going to
distribuição
work with the
e a
distribution
granularidade que a gente tem na
algorithms
operação,
and the
que ela ser
granularity we have
também
in
granular,
operation.
nos ajuda a fazer isso cada
That
vez
helps
melhor,
us
né?
to
Então, a gente
do
vai
things better and
entendendo,
better.
aprendendo, a
So
própria
we
inteligência artificial,
understand,
os algoritmos
we
vão
learn,
evoluindo
the
e
AI
a gente
also
tende a
improves
ter
the
uma tração
algorithms,
de
and
ganho
we
cada vez maior,
tend to
tanto da
have gain
aprendizagem,
and
tanto da
traction
operação quanto da
of
inteligência
learning both of
artificial.
operations
Então,
and
a gente espera
AI.
ganhos
So we
crescentes,
expect
graduais no
growing
modelo, né? Por
and
isso que a gente fala da
gradual
tração
gains in the
e
model.
que a coisa é
That's
gradual.
what we mean
Outro
by
ganho que a gente espera
traction.
ter é na
Another
eficiência da
gain
operação, né?
is
Se tem uma
in
curva de
the
aprendizado, ganho
science
de
of the operation.
produtividade. Então,
We
a parte de
have a
custos
learning
também,
curve and
a gente
gain
espera uma
productivity.
redução
So,
gradual
in
de
terms of
custos, né?
cost, we
Conforme a gente
expect
vai ganhando
gradual
produtividade e
reduction of
eficiência,
cost
né? O
as we
modelo
gain
que já está
efficiency.
operando, está
It's
full,
a model
mas
that
você
is
vai
already
agora operando
operating,
cada vez
but
melhor, né?
we
Então, você vai
operate
tendo
better
ganhos
and
de ganhos de
better. So we
produtividade,
gain
isso se
efficiency and
reflete
productivity, and
também
this
em
reflects
custos e em
also in
evolução
costs
de
and
lead time também para
if
ajudar na venda. Então, a
better
gente tem
lead
ganho
time.
de venda, de
So
margem,
we gain
de
margin,
custos, né? Mas
sales,
de forma
costs,
gradual, né? Não tem
but
nenhum Big
gradually.
Bang a partir
We
das
don't have a
vendas.
big bang.
A questão da migração do
About
digital, né, do Rio de
migrating
Janeiro
digital
para
from
Cabreúva,
Rio de
ela
Janeiro to
iniciou agora em
Cabreúva.
janeiro, era a
It
última
started
fase,
in
né, como a gente tinha
January. It was
dito.
the last
Ela iniciou
phase,
em
as
janeiro, ela
we
termina,
mentioned.
né? A gente está fazendo
This
gradualmente,
phase
dia a dia, né,
ends.
semana a semana
We're
ali,
doing it every day, every week. We increase the percentage to Cabreúva and reduce it in Rio de Janeiro until we conclude that 100% this year.
Fazendo isso, né, a gente tem
Doing so,
benefício importante
we have important
de
benefits
redução de lead time
of
para o cliente
reducing
final,
lead time for the
integração da
end
operação
consumer,
omni-logística,
integrating
né,
the
que também nos
omni
ganha
operations
também
and
redução de
logistics,
custos,
which also
tanto
reduces
de
costs,
operação
both
quanto
in
de
operations
abastecimento, que
and
ganha de eficiência de
replenishing,
lead time.
and gain
Fora
efficiency
isso,
in
né,
lead
a gente
time.
passa a ter agora
Also,
efetivamente
we
100% do
effectively have
estoque disponível para
100%
os
of the
clientes, que antes
inventory
tinha
available for the
para os
customers
clientes
because
digitais, a
for
gente
the
tinha a
digital
parte das
customers,
lojas, de
because we
parte do
had
centro de distribuição
part
disponível para os
for the
clientes no
stores and
digital.
part
Agora
of
a
the
gente passa a
distribution
ter
center for
todas as
digital
lojas
customers.
e
Now we have
todo
all the stores
o estoque do digital
and
disponível.
all
Você
digital inventory
amplia
available. So you
tanto
expand
o sortimento quanto a
the
profundidade de
assortment
produtos,
and
aumentando a
a
possibilidade
number
de
of products,
conversão,
increasing
reduzindo
the
o custo
possibility of
operacional,
conversion,
tendo muito
reducing
menos custo de
operating
entrega
costs,
e acelerando a velocidade
delivery
de
costs,
entrega.
and
Então,
speeding
acho que ainda
up
tem
the
ganhos
delivery time.
importantes para a gente
So
colher,
these are important
tanto
aspects
da
that we will
curva de
capture
evolução do que já foi
both in the
feito, quanto
evolution
da
curve of what
migração
was done
do
and
digital
migrating
do Rio de Janeiro
digital
para São Paulo,
from
né?
Rio to
Quanto
São
ao
Paulo.
CD do Rio de Janeiro,
As to the
né, a
distribution
gente
center in Rio de Janeiro,
está na conta, né, que ele continua operando de uma
we
forma muito
it continues
pequena,
to
né, de uma
operate
parte
very
de
little.
recebimento, de
It
cross-docking, ele vai reduzindo
receiving,
sua operação.
cross-docking,
Então,
they're
devido a
reducing
isso, que a gente
operations,
fez
and
a
that's
baixa de
why
boa parte ali
we
dos
wrote
custos do
off
CD do Rio de
a
Janeiro,
lot
que
of the costs
interferiram,
from the
né, de
distribution
forma não
center in Rio
recorrente
de Janeiro.
nos
So
resultados
they're
do quarto trimestre,
non-recurring in
mas
the
que
results of
limpam
the
também
fourth
a
quarter, but
base
they also
de
link
despesas daqui
to
para
the
frente,
expense base
né?
from
Então,
now
ele é
on.
não recorrente,
So
ele é
it's
pontual
non-recurring,
e ele é
it's
positivo daqui para
specific,
frente, né?
and it's
Então,
positive from now on.
a gente ainda continua com uma
So we
operação pequena
continue
lá, mas
to
daí já
operate
numa
just
base
a
de
little
custos
there,
menor, né?
but at a
Daniel, não
lower
sei se você quer
cost
agregar alguma
base.
coisa.
I don't know if Danielle wants to add anything. No, that's
Não,
it.
perfeito. Obrigado, Fábio.
Okay, perfect. Thank you,
Obrigado,
Fabio.
Vinícius.
Thank you,
A próxima
Vinicius.
pergunta vem do
Our
Felipe
next
Rached,
question
Goldman
is
Sachs.
from
Tudo bem?
Felipe Rached
Oi,
from
obrigado,
Goldman
Carla.
Sachs.
Tudo
Hi,
bem? Tudo bem,
Carla.
Fábio? Também,
Thank you.
Daniel.
Thank you, Fabio,
Eu queria
Danielle.
explorar um pouco mais o tema de
I would like to
expansão. Vocês
explore
passaram guidance de
expansion
25 a 35 aberturas para 2025,
from
a
25
maior
to
parte em
35
localidades
openings,
novas, né? Vocês
most in
conseguem dar
new
um pouco mais de
places.
cor de
Can
como a
you
safra
give
mais
us a little bit
recente desse
more
perfil novo
flavor
de loja
of
tem
this
maturado?
new profile of
Entendo que
stores?
essas novas localidades têm
These
têm
new
um pouco de loja de rua, mas elas
locations
ainda têm bastante
have
loja de
street
shopping,
stores, but a lot of stores in shopping malls.
Se vocês puderem falar um pouco
Could
sobre
you
a
tell us
evolução
a
desse
little bit
mix,
about
de como vocês estão
this
vendo a reunir
mix
desses
and how
novas
you
lojas de rua versus
see
shopping, seria ótimo também.
um,
Obrigado.
the opening of
Não,
street
obrigado,
stores
Felipe. Acho
and
que aí a gente tem
mall
bastante
stores?
coisa para
Yes,
falar,
I think we have a lot to
positivo,
say
né?
about
Que
that,
talvez
very positive
não fica
things
tão
that
evidente ali
might
quando a
not
gente
be that
dá
evident
os números, né?
when we
Mas
provide the figures.
vou separar as
But
expansões ali,
let's
principalmente Renner e Yukon, que são as
break
mais
down
relevantes.
the
Mas
expansions.
Renner a gente está estimando
Renner,
entre 15
we
e 20
estimate
lojas, né?
opening 15 to 20
Que já é um bom
stores,
número
which
em
is already a
alguns
good
anos, até para
number in
benchmark
line with the
outros.
previous years.
E muito focado,
Uh,
né,
deeply
nas
focused
cidades onde a gente ainda
on
não
in
tem
the
loja
cities where we
existente.
don't have any
Então,
existing stores.
isso é uma expansão que tem
So
nos
that's
agradado
an
bastante,
expansion that
porque tanto
really
os resultados
pleases us
das
because
lojas
both the
por si
results of
só
the
têm sido
stores
muito positivas,
by
acima da média,
themselves is
das
positive and
mesmas
above
lojas
average of the same
de cifras
stores
semelhantes, né, com
from
mesma idade de
with the
abertura.
same age of
Então, é
opening.
modelo que tem se provado
So it's a
muito positivo
model
para a
that
gente quando
proves to
olha
be
o
positive
PNL
for
da
us
unidade,
when we look at the
mas mais do
P&L
que
of
isso,
the
né, no
unit, but
todo ele
more
acaba sendo
than
até
that,
melhor, né, porque ele tem
it's even
canibalização
better
zero
because it
e
has zero
incrementa a venda
capitalization
do digital para
and
aquela localidade também.
increases
Então,
the
é um
sales of digital
PNL
for that
melhor que a
location.
média
So it's a
e ele é
P&L
mais
above
accretive
average
para o sistema como um
and
todo,
it's
né, não
better for the
reduz e
entire system.
acrescenta.
It doesn't
Então, a
reduce
gente bem
anything and it
feliz com o
adds.
modelo de
So we're very
expansão,
happy with the
continua,
expansion model.
né,
We
com a
continue
expansão de Renner muito focado
with
nisso, a maior
Renner
parte das lojas
expansion
vão ser
focused on that.
nessas novas.
Most
A gente
of
tem a
the
expansão de
openings will be
Yukon
in new
também,
cities. We have expansion
que
of
a gente está
Yukon
estimando aí entre 10 e 15
as
lojas, né? Então, quando a
between
gente fala entre
10 to
25 e
15
35, a gente está
stores.
falando basicamente
So
de
when we
Renner
say
e Yukon
25 to
somados.
35, we are
A Yukon
basically
aí já tem
talking about Renner
oportunidade
and Yukon.
maior, né? Tem
We have a
oportunidade
greater
também para aças que ainda
opportunity also in
não está presente,
cities
mas
and
também tem
locations where we
oportunidades em
don't have any
grandes
presence,
praças, né?
but also in
Yukon, a gente
large
fechou o ano ali
cities.
com
Yukon,
135 lojas.
we
Se a gente
closed the year with
olhar o
135
potencial
stores. If
futuro
we
de
look at the
expansão
future
da
potential
Yukon,
for
é
expansion
mais
of
do que
Yukon,
dobrar o número de lojas.
it's more than
Se a gente
double the
olhar o
number
de
of
Renner, por
stores.
exemplo, a gente está falando
If we look
só
at Renner, we're talking about stores in cities where we don't have any presence yet. If we think about 400 cities with more than 50 thousand inhabitants where we don't have any presence, we can have a Renner, and in most of them, you have a huge potential for Renner for future expansion and a large potential for Youcom in all the cities. And Youcom has an additional factor. In addition to double potentially the number of stores, we're talking to 10 to 15 this year. The brand has a great opportunity because of the power of the brand and the importance it has in the market. It's the main youth brand in the market. It can increase assortment and have larger stores. We did some tests last year that were successful. So we have the opportunity both for new Youcom stores to be a little bit better than the average size, and also the assortment be greater in these bigger stores. So you have bigger stores or increasing the size of the stores. Camicado are specific store openings. We did a good management of Camicado portfolio. We closed the stores we had to close. We also did that for Renner in the past 2 years. Youcom also. 23 and 24, we kept a good number of stores opened, but it was above our normal number to clean up our portfolio. This movement is over. So 25 to 35 stores, including Renner, Youcom, and a little bit of Camicado. This basically is the net growth of the number of stores. We can close a store here and there, but this year it will be very few and specific. On the contrary, the number of net openings in 23 was 1 store. 2024 was 14. Now we're going to have almost a 100% increase and also some opportunities for expansion.
Boa, muito claro. Obrigado, Fábio.
Thank you. Very clear. Thank you, Fábio. Thank you. Thank you, Felipe. Our next question, Joseph Giordano for JP Morgan. Good morning, Carla, Fábio, and Daniel. Thank you for taking my question. You talked about the main variables of the DC. Now looking outside of Renner, when we look for the past 5, 6 years, we see a consistent drop of the company's ticket in actual terms that repositions the company about the floors. I would like to understand from you how could we think about building a higher average ticket, repassing price, taking into account the FX environment, maybe have a different mix from now on in a more challenging environment. And about Realize, can you speed up if there's a potential to speed up? There was Realize had a positive result. If it could be something positive for the top line in 2025. Thank you, Joseph. About the average ticket and price repass. In 2024, we were able to maintain our prices very stable, and even in some important prices have a slight reduction despite the FX pressure and inflation. With this, we had a growth in 2024 based on volume. We didn't have an increase in price. We had a growth in volume. When we look at 2025, and if inflation continues to grow and price adjustment of the competitors, they're already coming with higher prices. So what we've been working on is to maintain our position. We estimate a price repass a little bit below inflation, which would bring the forecast growth for this year with component not only 100% in number of pieces and transactions, but a blend of number of pieces, volume of transaction, and price. But part of the growth comes from pieces sold and transactions, and a little bit that we will be able to work below inflation, continue with a more appealing proposal for our customers, but still maintaining healthy margins and stability for our margins as well.
Sobre a Realize,
About Realize
reacelerar, acho que a gente
uh,
está bem feliz com a Realize.
accelerating, we're very happy with Realize.
Cenário
It's
como
important in a
várias pessoas têm
landscape
desenhado aí ao longo
like
do ano
people have been
2025, um cenário que pressiona o
describing in
consumidor e pode
2025 that
colocar em
puts
risco
pressure on
uma
consumers
inadimplência.
and can
Você ter
put
uma
at
carteira tão
risk
saudável
default.
quanto a gente tem na
Having a
Realize
healthy
nos
portfolio
permite,
like we have it in Realize allows us
tomar decisões,
to
mais
make
assertivas,
decisions
conceder o crédito
that
para
are more
quem
assertive,
precisa e
granting
pode
credit
pagar na
for those
quantidade
who can and
necessária.
can pay
Então,
it
ela já tem sido uma alavanca
at the right
importante,
amount. So
mas
it's already important,
muita
but
tranquilidade, muita responsabilidade. A gente não tem
we are very careful
não
and
tem nenhuma urgência de
responsible.
acelerar
We don't have
a
any
abertura da
urgency in
Realize, a
speeding
concessão
up
de crédito.
Realize's
Não porque
portfolio
não
granting
possa, né?
credit,
Quando a gente olha
not because we
internamente a Realize, a
can't.
gente até deveria.
When we look at Realize, we
Mas a gente
should.
sabe que está navegando
But
num cenário mais incerto.
we're
Então, a gente
in
prefere, ter
uncertain
pouco mais de
waters, so
cautela
to
nesse
speak. So we
sentido.
have to be more
Sim,
cautious.
usar a Realize da forma como ela é
Yes,
desenhada
using
para
Realize, how it's designed
alavancar o
to be
resultado do
used to
varejo,
leverage
gerando
results
resultados
in
positivos também
retail
por si
generating
só para o
positive
sistema,
results by
mas de uma forma
itself
muito
for the system,
responsável. A gente
but
vai
in a
estar
very
realmente
responsible
ajustando
way.
isso, porque a gente
We
vê que
are
o
going to
cenário
adjust it as we
ele também
see
é bastante desafiador e a
the
gente não
scenario
quer
because it is
comprometer
very
a carteira da
challenging and we
Realize
don't
também.
want to compromise Realize's portfolio.
Perfeito, obrigado.
Obrigado,
Perfect.
Joseph.
Thank you. Thank you, Joseph.
Dado o tempo, então a gente
Given our
tem aqui
time,
uma última pergunta
we're
do
going to
Rodrigo
answer the
Gastim, do
last
Itaú.
question
E
from
aí, só
Rodrigo
que,
Gastim from
Gastim, antes de
Itaú.
passar a palavra, só avisando então que aquelas
Just
pessoas que estão aqui na fila e que a gente
those who are in line
porventura que não conseguiu
that
fazer as
we
perguntas em função
couldn't
do tempo,
answer your
por favor,
questions
nos
due to time
direcione aqui para a
restraints,
área de
please
RI que a gente
send us
responde na
to
sequência.
our RI
Agora, por
department
favor,
and we will
Gilberto.
answer.
Legal, obrigado, pessoal. Para
Thank you.
encerrar
Thank you very
o dia
much.
aqui,
To
então,
conclude the
queria entender
day,
pouco mais
Fabio, I would like
sobre
to understand
atividade, né? Esse é um tema que a gente
about
tem falado com algumas
activities.
empresas.
We've
Pego
been
os
talking
dados
to some
proprietários aqui do
companies
Itaú, né, ao longo do final do ano.
and also
O grande
proprietary
tema de
results
discussão
of
no varejo
Itaú.
foi a
The
desaceleração de dezembro, né? Que a gente
retail
viu na
talk
indústria. Então, o que eu
was
queria
the
perguntar para vocês
deceleration in
ajuda a gente só a
December,
entender
the
qualitativamente,
slowdown in December.
obviamente,
Can you
como é que foi
help
essa
us
evolução ao
understand
longo do TRI, né? Se de
qualitatively
fato a
how was
atividade,
this
de alguma
slowdown? If
maneira,
the
vocês
activity in some
perceberam também uma
way
desaceleração em
also slowed
dezembro, e mais
down
do
in
que isso,
December, and
né?
more
A
than
grande
that,
discussão é,
the
eventualmente,
discussion
como isso se
is
comporta no
how
começo
this
de
will
2025,
behave
né?
in
Para
the
ver política
beginning of
monetária, se está
2025.
antecipando
Looking at
desaceleração ou
the
não.
monetary
Então,
policy,
qualquer,
if it's
enfim,
affecting the
indício
slowdown or
qualitativo
not.
que vocês possam dividir com
So
a
any
gente
qualitative
sobre começo do ano também,
index
se
you can
teve
tell
alguma
us about the
mudança, alguma
beginning of the
recuperação
year,
frente
if
a
there was
dezembro, como mostram
any
os nossos dados
recovery
proprietários,
compared
acho
to
que acho que
December,
ajudaria
as
bastante.
our
Obrigado.
proprietary
Bom,
data
Gastim,
shows would
obrigado
help.
pela pergunta.
Thank you, Gastin, for your question.
Infelizmente, a gente não comenta
Unfortunately, we
períodos
don't
menor do que
comment
trimestre, tá? Mas
any
posso te comentar
periods
eventos, né?
smaller
Desde
than
diesel,
quarters.
peers,
I
acho
could
que
talk
como eu
about
falei na
events, though.
abertura,
As I
o
said
evento
in
do
the
Black
opening
Friday foi
comments,
muito
Black
positivo, o
Friday
evento
was
de
very
Natal foi muito
positive.
positivo também.
Christmas was also
Acho que a
very
gente,
positive.
olhando para 2025, a
Looking
gente
at
não abre o trimestre, vocês têm
2025,
o número, a
or
gente
the
não abre
you
por
have the
mês,
we
mas olhando para
you will have the figures of
2025,
the
a gente não
quarter.
vê nenhuma
Looking at
desaceleração, não vê
2025, we
nenhuma
don't see any
desaceleração,
slowdown
nenhuma degradação de
or
ambiente, pelo menos nos nossos números
degradation. At
internos
least
aqui,
that's what
a
our
gente vê
internal figures are
cenário
showing.
conforme
We
a gente tinha
see a
esperado ali,
landscape as
e
expected,
acho que continuamos
and we
olhando
continue
cenário
to
de
look
crescimento
at
sem nenhum sinal
a
de
growth
desaceleração.
without any sign of slowing down.
Perfeito. E se me
Okay,
permitir só um
perfect.
follow-up rápido aqui
Just
na
a
sua
quick
primeira,
follow-up
na sua
on
primeira
your
resposta,
first
Fábio, me
answer
perguntaram aqui ao longo do call, do ponto específico da Argentina,
about
uma conta que o
Argentina.
pessoal tem feito para tentar entender
The math
o
people are
impacto da
doing to try to
Argentina, acho que no
understand
quarto
the
tri do ano
impact of
passado,
Argentina in
acho
the
que
fourth quarter.
prejudicou a venda de vocês em
I
aproximadamente um ponto
think
percentual, né? Se observar,
damaged
você perdeu
your sales in
uma
one
conta, né? Um raciocínio que o
percentage
pessoal tem
point.
feito você tem esse ponto de
People are
volta,
doing the
né?
math.
E,
You
obviamente, você teve
recover
uma dinâmica
this
de
point
inflação maior ao longo do ano,
and
com
higher
consequências da
inflation
valorização
throughout the
cambial.
year
Ou seja, é
and
como se o efeito da
FX
Argentina, ou a
devaluation.
representatividade da
So
Argentina agora nesse
the
quarto tri, para
the
vocês fosse
share of
maior do que
Argentina
esse
in your
algo
third
perto de 2
quarter would
pontos
be
percentuais.
closer to
Não estou
2
pedindo o número
percentage
também,
point.
mas vocês
I'm
podem
not
só
asking for
dar
the
uma ideia
number,
se
but you could
realmente
just give us an
teve uma
idea
relevância
if
boa a Argentina nesse trimestre,
Argentina
tem
was
ajudado as
relevant in
vendas de
this
vocês
quarter,
nessa
if it
magnitude.
has been helping your
Mas
sales.
assim, a gente normalmente não abre
Usually
venda
we
por
don't
região, nem por país, né? Nada
break
disso. Não,
down and
realmente eu te peço desculpas, mas a gente não abre. Por
communicate
que que a gente
per
falou de Argentina
region.
no ano passado?
we mentioned Argentina last year. It wasn't about sales. It was about FX accounting effect. We want to be very clear and transparent about the effect in the FX. We have to think that sales, yes, Argentina is helping without any question. We're recovering quickly, but it's just 4 stores we have there. Our operations there are very small, but it's positive. It is
Agora, eu
positive.
posso dizer assim, que assim, não
What
é,
I can say,
não
but it's
é
not the
a
size you're
a
imagining.
conta que estão fazendo,
I don't know
não
what
é
kind of
isso,
math you're
tá?
doing, but
Que se
that's not
fosse
it.
desse tamanho,
If it
naturalmente,
were
a gente teria
that
que dar
size,
disclosure e
naturally we
conversar
would
com
have
vocês, se
to
fosse algo
disclose
material,
and
mas
mention it
não
if it
é
were material, but it's not.
que estão eventualmente
It's
conjecturando.
not
Tá?
the number that you're considering. It wasn't related to impact of sales being more or less. It was for the entire P&L. That's why we disclosed it, because it was an overall impact of FX that impacted all the figures. It's good sales, it's recovering, but the share is very small. We have 686 stores, only 4 are there, and online, which isn't very big
Então ajuda,
there either.
ajuda bastante. Valeu, pessoal.
Okay, thank
obrigado.
you. Thank you very much.
Obrigado,
Have a great day.
Bom, com isso
Thank you.
encerramos então a nossa
With this,
sessão
we conclude
de
our
Q&A.
Q&A
Com o
session.
Fábio, passo a palavra para
Fabio, I
encerrar
pass the
o
floor for
comentário
your closing remarks. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, everyone. I would like to thank you for being here. And I would like to reiterate the confidence in our partners and teams' performance that are engaged in enchanting our customers. And consequently, enchanting our customers, they enchant our shareholders and other stakeholders. We're confident in the future performance of our company. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great